10 ways to play Leona perfectly against challengers. Hello gamers, the 11.24 patch notes have been released, and we are going to explain to you the different ways in which Leona can be used against challengers, so stick to the end. As we know, Leona is one of the best support champions in League of Legends. When approximately used, her passive grants her significant damage, and her kit has plenty of access to crowd control. So, let's begin. Number 1 is Runes. For runes on Leona, you want to go Aftershock always. You can go to either Demolish or Font of Life, and usually you'd go for bomb plating if the enemy team has a lot of pokes. If they have double range support for double range lane, you can go for Second Wind. For the last round, you should go Unflinching because it's very much a good rune on every champion in the game. For secondary, while they have a lot of CC, you could go for Triumph and Legend of Tenacity, which is a pretty good rune. You get a lot of free tenacity, and with the Courageous you have from your first tree, you get full tenacity without having to buy tenacity boots or merc jets, and in a lot of other cases you can go Inspiration, where you can go Hex Clash or Cookies, or Minion Dematerializer, which gives you a lot of lanes prior to get to push very fast. The Hex Flash gives you a lot more engaging opportunities, so I would go for Inspiration most of the time, every game, except if they have a lot of CC. Legend Tenacity and Triumph will help you a lot against the enemy. Items. With Leona, you always want to get a look at your first item, or as a mythic, you get your boots early without the mythic is almost in every game a valuable option. With Leona, you always want to have either Movi boots or Ninata if they have a lot of AT. When you lock it, as I said, you usually will not have as much as build as any other item. Still, buying Seek's probably like a second solid item in every game. It could be acceptable to get like what's called a Bramble West if they have a lot of healing this game. They don't have much shielding, so we're going to skip that for going for a pistol mask for it if they have a mechanical damage. Early game. You'll want to use Solar Flare at this point in the game. Apply continuous pressure for each lane roaming. Even if your Solar Flare does not land, it's a good idea to send it out in case it does. Because of the ability CD is naturally low, which is around 90, 75, and 60 seconds, it's also a good idea to send out your Solar Flare even if the chances of it being hit aren't huge because it has a psychological effect on your foes. They'll be less likely to engage and rotate while you're around if they know you're not scared to utilize your ultimate to catch someone off guard. Control the game's pace by exploiting the psychological flaw. Always be on the lookout for new opportunities, don't let up the pressure. Sunlight Leona. The target of Leona's devastating spells is affected by sunlight for 1.5 seconds. When allied champions damage those targets, the sunlight debuff is consumed, causing additional magic damage of 25 to 144 at levels 1 to 18. For every 2 groups, the amount is increased, and Leona is unable to turn down the extra damage on her own. Is there no method for Leona to use her passive sunlight on the adversary? Akin to Echo or Diana's passive of 3 basic attacks and skills and scaled damage based on Leona's maximum health? Because in my perspective, I believe that Leona players share this viewpoint. It is a team-focused passive that is worthless for her, not to mention that it's not as flashy as the late game due to its low damage. Her passive prevents foes from using stealth skills for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and 4 seconds at level 6, 11, and 16 respectively. And it does damage depending on 7% of her maximum life, similar to the sunlight above them. Shield of Daybreak and Eclipse. Shield of Daybreak allows Leona to illuminate her shield, letting her fire her next basic attack in less than 6 seconds, acquire 50 bonus range, and stun the enemy for 1 second, and deal additional magic damage. Keep in mind that Leona's primary attack timer can be reset by Shield of Daybreak. Eclipse. Leona will create a 3-second sun eclipse around herself, gain additional armor and magic resistance, and lessen pre-mitigation damage when engaged. All of these are valid for any type of harm. After a set period, Leona's Eclipse will detonate, dealing magic damage to all nearby opponents and granting her damage reduction and bonus resistance for 3 seconds if she hits an enemy unit. The lightning colors work better for the Solar Eclipse skin, I won't lie. Her weapons and armor take on a brilliant glow from the warm orange light. Her sword's molten edge, and especially, is quite remarkable, and that thing seems like it could sever the ADC in half. Thanks to the warm reds incorporated into the armor's textile parts, she has a royal, Warhammer Inquisitor-like aspect. Zenith Blade. Leona summons a solar image of her blade which does magic damage to all opponents in a line of 50, 90, 130, 170, and 210 plus 40% ability power. The last enemy champion struck will be immobilized for 0.5 seconds as the image fades, and Leona will dash to them. The range of attacks is 500. Leona's E ability, Zenith Blade, is a support champion with a lot of crowd control and a surprising amount of damage. Zenith Blades are mainly used to narrow the space between Leona and the enemy to set up a stun, although they do deliver some magic damage. The opponent team appeared to have Baron to lock on the game. With no vision available to Leona or her squad until the team was down to less than 2,000 health, Leona then planned to enter Baron Pit and seize the Baron's property by launching Zenith Blade to keep in mind that while Zenith Blade is active, Leona becomes immobile. Solar Flare. Leona summons a beam of solar energy that deals 100, 175, 250 plus 80% ability power, magic damage, and slows the opponent down for 1.5 seconds after a brief delay. Instead of being stalled, enemies in the center of the beam are stunned. Leona will summon down a beam of solar energy when she casts Solar Flare, which will strike the target spot after 0.6 seconds. It will provide you with a regen sight for about 3 seconds after it's activated. When enemy units inside the target region collide, they will take additional magic damage. If the epicenter hits an enemy, they will be delayed for 80% of their 1.5 seconds and be stunned for the same time. Combined abilities. Because Solar Flare has such a short cooldown, make sure to utilize it whenever possible, such as picking off, chasing, and engaging hostile units. Before your allied champions engage, lead the assault and mark enemy units with Leona's Sunlight. Combine Shield of Brave Break with Zenith Blade to deal a large amount of damage. Leona's Eclipse may absorb a lot of damage, but keep in mind you'll need to stay close for foes to get increased duration. For Leona, making Eclipse provides higher durability and extensive burst damage. Late game closing out. Eclipse should be activated before engaging in combat and to improve the possibility of inflicting damage. Titanic Hydra is the most incredible option when fighting tanks because it delivers a lot of damage, especially if you have another item that gives Leona health. Aftershock is an excellent rune for Leona because it works well with her kit and it is a superb initiator. Because Leona is primarily used in her top lane, use a corrupting potion to trade with opponents efficiently. The Dead Man's Plate is a fantastic item that improves Leona's ability to stay in enemy units, making it easier to catch up with them. Relic Shield is perfect for melee support when utilizing Leona as support. Matchups. Leona is mainly a safe champion. She has a lot of good matchups and not many bad ones, like there is Tahm Kench, probably the worst. Still, Tahm Gang is not like a meta champion anyways, so you should not worry about that. So I would say Leona struggles a bot against only Tahm and Thresh. After all, Thresh can flay you, keep you away from eating your enemies as you can't get to him, or hit your Q. I guess if you want to play Leona, hovering Leona and banning Thresh might be a good option because the enemy team nicks Thomas scans. They're not gonna be winning the game anyway, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. So that's it folks, there's some tips and tricks we expect would make Leona perfect champion to play against challengers. If you have any suggestions, do let us know in the comment section down below. Until then, keep gaming.